Hi everyone, my name is David and I'm joined with Krishnil, Nicholas, and Rihan. And today we'll be looking at Guardians of the Galaxy and how it relates to leadership. First on the agenda, I'll be introducing some of the relevant story information and then also introduce which character we decided to focus on. After that, we'll go over leadership and qualities, then leadership effectiveness, then lessons for business, and then I'll wrap it up with a brief conclusion. So the Guardians of the Galaxy are a group of five that you can see on the top right photo. From left to right, the members go Groot, Rocket, Peter, Gamora, and Drax. So initially, this group, they were all kind of enemies. They all had their own goals. Peter wanted to keep this rare little orb for financial gain, while Rocket and Groot wanted to kidnap Peter for a ransom, and Gamora wanted the object for herself. This caused a big battle in public, which got them all imprisoned together, where they were forced to work together to escape. And that's where Drax joined them. Like I said, each member had very individualistic goals and motives. There wasn't really much of a team dynamic, and the qualities that their team had were qualities of a very dysfunctional team with a lack of trust, inattention to results, and lack of commitment. Through failure and reflection, you saw a change in the team dynamic where trust was then built and they were all able to come together and kind of defeat the antagonist, who's Ronan, which you can see on the bottom right photo. So the character we decided to focus on was Peter Quill, aka Star-Lord. And just some brief background information on him. After his mom passed away at a young age, he was abducted by a group of space pirates called the Ravagers. These pirates kind of raised him into a life of crime and thievery. And through this is how he came into contact with the other groups or group members of Guardians of the Galaxy. So initially you see Peter as well as other leaders or other members kind of attempt to force their position as the leader over the group before any of them really earned it. And this is when you see the team at their least functional level. Um, Later in the film, you see Peter become kind of a motivator and inspirer, causing a shift in team vision and culture. And this just overall makes their team way more effective. Next, I'm going to let Nicholas present leader qualities.
So over the course of the movie, we see a lot of character development from Peter Quill. When we are looking at his leadership qualities, they progress throughout the movie. Some leadership qualities were there from the start, and even if the end goal wasn't for the right reasons, the leadership qualities were present. Throughout the movie, Peter's ability to align his teams to have the same goal was a strength that he had. At the start, it was to sell the orb, which we found out later is an infinity stone. Rocket and Groot wanted to capture Peter, as Dave said, and Gamora wanted the stone for herself, and Drax wanted to revenge his family. However, Peter was able to convince them to work together and split the profits that the stone was sold for. And then Drax gave a little bit of a trouble to align his goals with it, but Peter was able to convince him that this would help him achieve his end goal as well. After the stone was stolen from by Ronan, Peter was able to convince his team that they should not stand by and watch innocent people die, which um and they changed their goal to save the innocent Xandarians. Although another good quality that Peter Quinn had was he was able to rely on his team to do tasks that he was not able to do himself, or step aside if he did not have the knowledge to complete something. For example, when they were escaping the prison, he let Rocket take the lead, and he and his team collaborated to escape. He also had a lot of trust in his team, and he grew as the movie went, and that grew as the movie went on. When they escaped from Peter, Peter did not trust them toward did not have much trust towards his team, and that was shown when he kept the orb to go get his Walkman. However, at the end of the movie, he had full faith in his team when he distracted Ronan with a dance battle while he waited for them to come up with a plan to save the people of Zandaria. These were the leadership qualities that stood out the most after watching the movie. Now, based on these qualities, I'm going to talk about what leadership styles he has. So, first, we decided that he was a charismatic lead and a transformational leader. As the movie went on, we found that these styles were strengthened and more prominent as his goal went from selfish to what was for the greater good. We chose Peter was a charismatic leader because of a few points. His communication near the end of the movie was very clear and transparent, and he entrusted the plan to his team. He also drew up a plan that they knew had a low probability to stop Ronan. However, Peter pursued with confidence and that he was going to succeed. He had high emotional intelligence and he used it to get closer to his team. He would share personal feelings and experiences when he thought that it was necessary and bonded with his team through that. Peter at the end of the movie was right in front of all the danger and leaded everyone with his own actions in the final battle. So that showed that he was not asking others to do something that he was not ready to do. On the transformational side, the main point was he utilizes the team skills in his plan. Also see Peter put himself in danger 3 times throughout the movie. Once when Gamora was stuck in space, second on Ronan's ship when Rocket crashed into the bridge, he dove and tackled Groot out of the way, and lastly he grabbed the Infinity Stone with his bare hands, knowing that it most likely would kill him. So that shows that he sacrificed himself for others, and he was willing to do what is good for the greater good. So Peter came up with the final plan and he listened to everyone's input. In the final plan, though, however, not everything went according to plan for Peter and his team. This showed how good Peter's resilience was because he was able to adapt quickly and find the best option to lead to his success, and in the end, defeat Ronan in the final battle. These were the two leadership styles we believe that Peter had. Now I'm going to pass it off to Rehan to talk about his topic.
Thank you, Nicholas. When Star-Lord met Gamora, Rocket, and Groot, their vision was very similar. But it was not a group vision, it was more individualistic. They were either trying to steal the orb or capture Peter for monetary benefits. But with time together and a common vision of selling the orb, they suddenly witnessed that the harm that the Infinity Stone can do is really high. And Gamora and Peter saw that it cannot be kept in Xandarians or the Guardians of the Galaxy's hands. So they decided that the best thing to do is to put it in a safe place, which was Xandar. But they lost that stone. Now, the losing of the stone was an experience that that they were all working for money. Was experience helped them become the Guardians of the Galaxy. But to make them a team, Star Lord, aka Peter Quill, played a key role by breaking fights between the members. So there was a scene where Drax and Groot get into a fight, and and he breaks them up. He's like, "You need to see the clear goal here." So it's a very good way of being effective as a leader. Another way of doing it was he called them losers. Now, when we think of losers, it sounds like a demotivator. But actually, in this scenario, it was not a demotivator, it was a motivator because it was the one thing that was similar between all four of those people or five of them, right? And he used that against them to tell them that we need to do something for the greater good and do something more heroic. So he changed their individual and selfish culture into a caring, purposeful, and goals-driven culture, and he made them a united team. Their semblance of friendship and becoming of the Guardians of Galaxy was a direct result of key moments of effective leadership shown by Peter Quill. Thank you. I'm going to pass it off to Krishniel.
Thank you, Rihan. So We start off with lessons for business with lack of vulnerability being one of the five dysfunctions of a team. Absence of trust or vulnerability occurs when team members are reluctant to be vulnerable with one another, admit their mistakes, or ask for help when needed. Without this comfort level among a team, developing trust would become way more challenging. And from the movie that we're taught about vulnerability was how well the team of Rocket, Peter, Gamora, Groot, and Drax gelled together. In the team, as Rian just talked about, the loser speech given by Peter Quill to get his team to focus on the main task by targeting them each personally and talking about their losses and how their collective losses cannot decide the outcome of the battle they are about to go through. As he starts walking off in silence after a speech, one by one, the characters kind of get up and resolve the solution and, go into battle with him and set their separations aside. And this shows vulnerability. Going to our second lesson for business is vision. So, this is an essential piece for focusing the team's attention on what matters the most. In this example, Peter Quill steals an orb that was owned by Ronan, the main villain in the movie. As his heist went along, he met with four other characters: Rocket, Groot, Gamora, Drax, and as we all know, they are from different planets that were destroyed by Ronan, and all of them were after the orb. While fighting each other for the orb, they all were thrown into a prison for stealing by police. While in the prison, the group plans to escape and realize that there is a common goal of getting rid of Ronan once and for all, to save the planet they all live in. Eventually, Peter realizes that they are all after the same thing and makes a truce within the group to not work against each other but work with each other, and goes on to plan a scheme that would let them alone with Ronan to ensure the best future for the team. A real world example for vision would just be a corporation's vision statement, would be the simplest way to put it. And we move on to number three, shifts in leadership styles. And a shift in leadership styles are seen throughout this film in Peter Quill. The biggest example of this taking place in the film would be when Peter, aka Star Lord, his mother passes away. Right before her heart stopped beating, she asked Peter for her hand, but Peter was too scared to reach back due to the fear of loss. Then, when Peter and his team steal back the Power Stone, Peter cannot hold the power himself, or the stone would destroy him as he is mortal. This is when Gamora asks Peter to grab her hand, in which he does after seeing his mother momentarily while trying to regain consciousness. As the team all joined hands, Peter transitioned from a charismatic leader to a transformational leader, which directed as well as supported his team through his actions and behaviors. A real-world business example would be a senior accountant interacting with his/her interns and not just ordering them to follow up on due dates and assignments, but also working alongside them to allow for a more experienced perspective for newer recruits to learn from. So overall, what does the film help us learn better understand about leadership? The film helps us better understand Peter Quill or Star-Lord's leadership style through style change, development of trust, and vision within leadership. Now I'll give it to David to conclude.
So, in conclusion, initially we saw the Guardians as a completely dysfunctional team, but through Peter Quill's leadership qualities and his ability to communicate, build relationships, and trust, as well through his actions, he was able to become a charismatic and transformational leadership, which influenced the alignment of each individual member's goals and motivations. In leadership effectiveness, you see a change in team vision from very individualistic to collective at the end. Um, and you see the development of a caring and purposeful culture throughout the movie. In lessons for business, you see how a shifting leadership style can influence a positive change in an organization, as well as the importance of a clear vision and how it affects a team's effectiveness, and as well as the ability for your teammates to be vulnerable and not be afraid to speak up. So thank you for watching our presentation. We hope you learned a lot.